Good morning, children. Today we are beginning with lesson number 2, The Enemy from Vistas by Pearl S. Buck. It is the time of the World War. An American prisoner of war is washed ashore in a dying state and is found at the doorstep of a Japanese doctor. Should he save him as a doctor or hand him over to the army as a patriot? So this is the dilemma faced by Dr. Sadao. Let's see how does he resolve this dilemma. Dr. Sadao's hockey's house was built on a spot of Japanese coast where as a little boy he had often played. The low square stone house was set upon rocks well above a narrow beach that was outlined with bent pines. As a boy, Sadao had climbed the pines, supporting himself on his bare feet, as he had seen men do in the South Seas when they climbed for coconuts. His father had taken him often to the islands of those seas, and never had he failed to say to the little brave boy at his side, "Those islands yonder, they are the stepping stones to the future for Japan." "Where shall we step from them?" Sadao had asked seriously. "Who knows?" his father had answered. "Who can limit our future? It depends on what we make it." So, this was the guidance given by Sadao's father to him. It is important for us to know where was Sadao's house because the setting will make us understand how did he encounter with the enemy. Sadao had taken this into his mind as he did everything his father said. His father, who never joked or played with him, but who spent infinite pains upon him, who was his only son. Sadao knew that his education was his father's chief concern. For this reason, he had been sent at 22 to America to learn all that could be learned of surgery and medicine. He had come back at 30, and before his father died, he had seen Sadao become famous not only as a surgeon but as a scientist. Because he was perfecting a discovery which would render wounds entirely clean, he had not been sent abroad with the troops. Also, he knew there was some slight danger that the old general might need an operation for a condition for which he was now being treated medically, and for this possibility Sadao was being kept in Japan. So, children, Sadao was not allowed to go with the army troops. The state was of war, the Second World War was going on, and army, the soldiers needed Sadao because he was an efficient surgeon. But still general did not allow Sadao to go. He had perfected in his surgery, his medicine. He had visited to America only to study because his education was his father's chief concern. He was tender at heart and he wanted to serve people. But General did not allow him because General himself was in pain and he knew that any time he might need an operation. So he relied only upon Sadao and so he did not allow him to go. And then the second reason was that Sadao was perfecting a discovery which would render wounds entirely clean. Therefore, he was not allowed to go. Clouds were rising from the ocean now. The unexpected warmth of the past few days had at night drawn heavy fog from the cold waves. Sada watched mist hide outlines of the little island near the shore and then come creeping up the beach below the house, wreathing around the pines. In a few minutes, fog would be wrapped about the house too. Then he would go into the room where Hannah, his wife, would be waiting for him with the two children. So he is standing in a balcony, you can say, of your house, a small veranda he was having, and he was when looking at the sea. he thought that soon the fog would cover completely his house as it has already approached the beach, and then he would go inside his house. But at this moment the door opened and she looked out a dark blue woolen hauri over her kimono. So, hauri is a loose outer garment worn over the kimono by the Japanese women. So, in a Japanese dress, she came out. Kimono is a sort of petticoat, you can say, uh, down the garment that is worn by the woman on the waist, you can say. So, that she was wearing, and she came to him affectionately and put her arm through his as he stood, smiled, and said nothing. He had met Hannah in America, but he had waited to fall in love with her until he was sure she was Japanese. This suggests that he did not express his love to Hannah. Only when he knew that she was Japanese, he expressed his love to her. The reason is given further. His father would never have received her unless she had been pure in her race. He wondered often whom he would have married if he had not met Hannah, and by what luck he had found her in the most casual way, by chance literally, at an American professor's house. The professor and his wife had been kind people, anxious to do something for their few foreign students, and the students, though bored, had accepted this kindness. Why? Because they did not have any option. In the foreign land, they could get only the place to stay and talk or share their things at American professor's house. So, though people did not like to visit, but they still visited. So Sadav is explaining that how by chance he met Hannah that day. Sadav had often told Hannah how nearly he had not gone to Professor Harley's house that night. Means he did not want to go. The rooms were so small, the food so bad, the professor's wife so voluble. But he had gone there. He had found Hannah, a new student, and had felt he would love her if it were at all possible. So the people shared dislike for Professor Harley and his wife because wife was voluble and the food that they served to the students that was so bad. And so Sadao did not want to go, but by chance when he went there he met Hannah. Now he felt her hand on his arm and was aware of the pleasure it gave him, even though they had been married years enough to have two children, for they had not married heedlessly in America. Means without thinking, they did not marry. They thought a lot about it and then only they had got married. They had finished their work at school and had come home to Japan. And when his father had seen her, the marriage had been arranged in the old Japanese way. Although Sadao and Hana had talked everything over beforehand, they were perfectly happy. She laid her cheeks against his arm. So they had a nice time together before the marriage, but still now they were very happy. Here it is given because usually many things are there that are talked about between the couple before their marriage, and then after the marriage they think that they have nothing to talk about. But still, they were a perfectly happy pair, and now they were standing together in their veranda that was against the sea beach. It was at this moment that both of them saw something black come out of mist. It was a man. He was flung up out of the ocean. Flung means thrown. It seemed to his feet by a breaker. He staggered means walked waveringly. A few steps, his body outlined against the mist, his arms above his head. Then the curled mist hid him again. Who is that?